uh, there we go. There we go. So if you had a chance to open up the material for this morning, gentlemen, it's called Validating Her Pain versus Violating Her Pain. Validating her pain. She was triggered. She was reminded. She was set back. I mean, you did something, careless, stupid, had the wrong emotion, and she was set back. She was discouraged. And what do you need to do to validate her pain? Well, actually, this talk is about what selfish and defensive men, and I would say immature emotionally men, do. Instead of validating her pain, they actually violate her by actually, in their defensiveness, make her pain even worse. So instead of acknowledging her pain, we actually amplify her pain. And so, because we've talked about how to deal with triggers and, what you can do to listen to your wife and validate her pain. There's a talk virtually about that. But what I found is that there are, I'm sure there's more than 10, but I picked the 10 that to me felt like the most common ways that defensive, selfish, immature men respond to their wife when she brings up her pain and her hurt or her frustration or her maybe even anger towards you. And so let's walk through these selfish reactions. And the whole goal is for you to say, oh, that's one I do. Oh, I've heard myself do that one. And to start learning about the ways that you push back when she brings up the fact that you've hurt her. Now, some of you, this is a distant memory because you're doing really well with your wife and you're walking clean. And so God bless you. For some of you, you're in the trenches and you maybe had a relapse 2 months ago or something, and she's still exhibiting signs of being hurt, and she pulls away sometimes, and she says things that it's hard for you to hear, but it's her trying to process the hurt that you've caused. And so what are some of the ways that you do that? So I want to read that first paragraph that's there because I took a lot of time to craft it, because it's kind of setting us up to look at these 10 different reactions. Your disrespect of your spouse's hurt and betrayal may come out in several ways. When she displays pain after some trigger sets her back, your clearly selfish and poorest response almost always centers around you. At the core, it's defensiveness. So self-absorbed, your response usually involves clearing your name by downplaying your failures and amplifying your changes, thus either inadvertently or consciously putting the blame back on her. She doesn't feel heard and validated by you. Rather, she feels violated again by your low grade and egocentric attempts to justify yourself again. This re-traumatization comes in many colors, but here are the most notable defensive reactions to your spouse's pain. I recognize that some of you are separated from your spouse right now. So you'll be looking at times where she did react and you responded poorly. Matter of fact, you reacted, you didn't respond. If you responded, you'd be thinking more from her side. So these reactions are the opposite of empathizing and validating. They're the opposite. So let's look at some of these. The first one I identified is dominating. You simply have no more time for the pain she's bringing up. Kind of like, we've talked this. Haven't we dealt with this? I mean, oh, here we go. We got to talk about this again. They're like, I don't like remembering this. Why do you keep bringing it up? You can start to hear it. And the reaction, it pushes her to be silent. You invariably silence her. When you hear her complaint, you strongly disagree by even maybe intimidating, threatening, raging, and your anger, it actually pushes her away and it stops the discussion and shuts her up. And it's kind of like, well, there, okay, that's enough of that. You brought it up. Okay, we're done, because I don't want to hear any more about that. That's not who I am anymore. Okay, that kind of thing. And so what happens is, and of course, this is maybe the saddest, most most harsh reaction to the whole journey, because it's so callous and so sharp, and you know, you act offended that she brought up the pain that you caused. Like, how flippin' selfish is that? But you dominate, you control, you silence her by your, you know, I mean, I just talked to someone, not even in this group. He's in another group, not even within regroup itself, and they're doing really well, except she says anytime she brings up a hurt, his first response is to get frustrated, and he gets agitated, and she says his arms start waving, and well, he's basically some version of defending. That was yesterday with a couple, and they're going in a good direction, and he's I think he's 960 days clean, and he still has defensive reactions, because he's really saying, golly, you know, I'm almost, you know, 2.5 years clean, and what do I get? I get this. Stop. Don't react this way, okay? Because it's selfish. The second one is withdrawing. This is kind of the opposite of intimidating, attacking, and going after your spouse for kind of bringing it up again and like, can you not forgive me type of deal. This is where you kind of do the pout game. You pull away because you're going to show your disapproval. You know, you're playing the poor me. You isolate, you sulk, you be silent. You actually might even walk away, let alone go silent. And of course, you're wanting her to notice that you're not reacting, because what happens is when their pain reminds you of your mistakes, you withdraw, displaying your hurt because she's brought this up again. So you walk or you go silent, but you're passively punishing her by ignoring her pain and feeling sorry for yourself, and try to make her feel sorry for you. Can you imagine that? You actually subconsciously and sometimes intentionally trying to make her feel sorry for you. So if you can, you know, pull away, you know, this pain and trauma that she's bringing us up again, and it's so hard, and I'm tired of this, I can't take this anymore, and you pull away or whatever, you know, recognize that instead of comforting in the suffering that you cause, you leave her to suffer alone. You want her to feel sorry for you. And so you withdraw emotionally. You might even withdraw physically. You don't jump in and say, I'm really sorry. You just go kind of like, then you kind of curtail your frustration, or you roll your eyes and you don't say anything, but you've already said something by your rolling of eyes, etc. So you withdraw. In that sense, you don't validate her pain. You actually violate her again, because you're actually serving to reject her because she is bringing this up again. So dominating, withdrawing. The third one that comes up is manipulating. In manipulating, you show disrespect by sharing subtle strategies designed to make her change her mind. You try to out-talk her. You're going to outwit her. You're going to outlast her, thus attempting to convince your wife of your narrative, your viewpoint, and not hers. It's kind of like, well, yeah, but understand that. And you start twisting the story. You start throwing in your perspective. You start trying to get your mindset on how things really are into her head. And how you see things is clearly enlightened. You're going to just kind of remind her, you know, don't forget, honey, you know, I'm 67 days clean. And, you know, this is not like it used to be, because, you know, I used to act out quite regularly before. Now I'm a changed man. I'm 67 days clean. And so you disrespect her by your commitment to win her over to your viewpoint. You got to win this argument. And although it really maybe doesn't come across as a bona fide argument, it comes across as just you trying to change the narrative. So you're trying to manipulate the discussion, change the discussion, change her perspective, and thus you are manipulating. You may not even be fully aware that you're doing it, but it's very common. Fourthly, minimizing. You begin by explaining that her negative feelings are simply an overreaction. You say things like, well, listen, I could understand your frustration, like 4 months ago when this all came out, but I don't get it today. Like, I mean, look what's been going on. Like, I've been working hard. I mean, I'm 92 days clean or whatever. And so what happens, you declare extremes. Like, for instance, golly, hon, you'd think I was a guy who went and visited 20 prostitutes or something. God, I'm not that bad. And I've done some good work, and it could have been much worse, honey. So somehow, by pointing out that it could have been worse, it nullifies the pain that she's bringing up. And so you might even tell stories of other men in regroup. Well, that guy really, oh, honey, if you should have known the stories of some of the guys I meet there. Golly, I'm not that bad. But we're not talking about comparing. Comparing is a stupid thing. Right now, we're talking about the pain that you have caused. And the fact, by citing other situations that may have been worse, it doesn't really change the fact that you've caused pain. You might even make comments to her that de-emphasize the mess you made, like, you're being a little extreme, or I think you're rather being unfair, or, okay, look, you've already made your point. I've heard this before. But in so doing and dismissing her, you aren't listening, you're disrespecting her. You're minimizing the pain you've caused. 5 is outright blaming. There's a twist in the narrative going on, that when she brings up the pain you cause, you have this proverbial but. Instead of hearing her out and validating the pain, you're quick to point out some of her shortcomings and some of her failings. And in so doing, by pointing out, well, listen, I mean, maybe you should work on your anger. Maybe you should work on your unforgiveness. And by pointing it out, it actually tries to take the pressure off what she's bringing up and to make you feel better. You might even imply that she's at fault by how things ended up with you guys, that she needs to bear much of the responsibility. For example, your wife may be sharing with you the many ways that your porn and acting out has really hurt her. And you might respond, well, if you'd pay more attention to me in the bedroom in those years, I likely wouldn't have resorted to what I did. You hear it? You're basically saying, we wouldn't be in this mess if it wasn't for you. Now, that's pretty cavalier and pretty selfish, and certainly pretty emotionally immature. But many men go to the blame game to try to get the pressure off themselves. And instead of validating her pain, you end up violating her again by not hearing her out and acknowledging it. Rationalizing. Another reaction that immature men do. You're quick to deny responsibility for whatever caused the problem. There's always an excuse. There's always an explanation. You find a line of reasoning that you can explain away any implication that you had any choice. Honey, if you just knew the stress I was under. It was a really difficult time. Do you remember how bad our marriage was at the time? I mean, things had gotten really bad. And then I had the pressure at work, and I was feeling so lonely. And you throw out all these things, and you actually might hide behind the strength of the addiction. Honey, you don't understand addiction. You don't realize the grip it's got on me. This is so hard. And so what happens is you minimize the pain you cause by explaining away, and that you just couldn't help it. And then, listen, you got to understand, with addiction, once you're triggered and tempted, most men, there's no coming back. And I was just caught in that cycle, and I couldn't do anything about it. See how you're explaining away. And of course, again, you could have gone back to, well, it could have been much worse. I mean, I'm really glad I stopped where I did. Well, you see, even in so doing that, you take the emphasis off the pain you caused, and you're asking her to be gracious to you and realize that it's not quite as she sees it. And you rationalize your way out of it. You explain. Gaslighting. Gaslighting has to do with you trying to convince your wife that she doesn't see things accurately. She doesn't remember things as they were. And so your reaction seeks to undermine her reality. And in this case, your spouse, by denying facts, her memory of events, or her feelings. And then so then you actually will say, well, listen, I never said that. I don't know where you're getting that from. I mean, I had struggle here, but I never did that. I don't remember that, hon, and yet the truth is she's saying, well, why would you have done this? Why would you have done that? And or it could be even something in reality that we had a disagreement the other day, and you said some really hurtful things, and then you deny, and so what happens? Your wife, as a target of your gaslighting, is manipulated into questioning her own reality, questioning what she remembers, because you clearly say, I would never have said that. I would never say that. The truth is, if I was the objective person listening to the discussion from 3 days ago, verifiably, you said that. But you don't want to admit you said that. So you gaslight by trying to make her change her opinion of how she recalls things. You minimize her ability. I mean, you say things that, well, listen, we know that I've got the better memory. So if there's a disagreement here, I mean, look at all the details I remember, and you forget a lot of things. You can't even find your way to the grocery store. Sometimes you get lost. I mean, I'm the one that, and so you justify your take on things, and it's called crazy making, because what really happened, you are actually nullifying by giving your view on it, and your view is not reality. You are changing reality and making her defend herself. No, you said that. And you just go, there's not a chance. And I didn't say that, honey. I might have said something close, but I certainly didn't say that. And you can't make me say that. Well, your defensiveness is forcing her recall to be different to match yours. That's gaslighting. And she starts, because of your strength in your reaction, she starts to question her memory. And then you go, yeah, that's right. Now she's seeing things right. No, you fooled yourself. That's gaslighting. Justifying. At the heart of the justifier is this theme: it's not my fault. So she brings up something that caused pain, and you end up challenging her that she doesn't understand the strength of your addiction. If she only knew the depth of your pain, how hard you've tried, what you've been going through. Matter of fact, you even try to justify through a historical defense by pointing out mistakes your parents made. And I mean, what do you expect, honey? My parents didn't care for me much, and I felt so alone. And I ran into this porn at 11 when my cousin showed it to me. And before I even know it, I was hooked on it. And so you just go on and you justify, and you completely invalidate her pain by laying out all the alibis for why your behavior could be understood and should be understood. And you justify that it only makes sense. If you knew what I was going through, it, and anybody who went through that, honey, would be stuck in this. It's not just me. A lot of guys have this, and you hear the idea that it's not my fault, and you justify the behavior and put the blame on someone else. Overreacting. This is another selfish ploy that a man who doesn't want to own his stuff uses. You disrespect your wife by giving an exaggerated response that is far beyond what she's looking for. You say things like, well, what's the point? You'll never forgive me. Well, no, honey, I just want you to understand. Yeah, I know. I've heard this before. Why don't you just say leave, honey? Matter of fact, I might as well leave. You'd be better without me, right? And matter of fact, it'd be better if I was dead, right? Because then you'd get money and all this, And no, she's not saying that. But you see, we go this extreme in our reactions, our overreactions, because these type of embellished comebacks are to garner her sympathy, to sidetrack the point of her sharing her hurt, and to invalidate her pain by trying her to think about you instead of you caring for her. So you give this extreme reaction and say, I know I'm a piece of crap, right? I know, right? Bring it up again. I'm garbage. Okay. Dave Garbage Currie. Now, are you happy? Do you see the overreaction? Do you see how it goes where you say these same things like, it'd be better for you. And you can do it this way. You don't have to be lit it up like you can say, yeah, you're right. You and the kids would be better without me. I am a piece of crap. Let's admit it. Well, no, I'm not saying that. No, it's okay. I know deep down, I'm a waste of your time. You should likely just divorce me. And do you see how we're trying to pull in the sympathy game? We're trying to make them, well, no, I don't, that's not what I'm trying to say. She says that to you and you end up, trying to get the attention on yourself by going these extreme reactions, that are there to garner sympathy. I couldn't help but put in number 10. Because you've heard me talk about emotional adolescence and the whiny little 14-year-old who, how come I am to this? That's not fair. What would I do? That little whine tone, right? But the conversation shift from her pain to your pain is almost seamless. You may even get emotional, popping out a few tears. This is so hard. I've never been through something hard. This is just really, but besides just dealing with addiction, your rejection of me is just so, here we go, right? And you want sympathy. You don't want to be held responsible. It's an attempt to take the focus off her pain. And due to your selfishness, you are quick to talk about how hard this is for you to face all the time she brings up her hurts again and again. I can't take this anymore. I can't. You think I want to remember all this? You bring it up again? And the implication that she is unforgiving, she's punishing, she's cruel, poor you, this is just not fair. And you matter of fact, if we had a camera going, likely 1 out of 7 or 8 of you have used this reaction here to try to just back off the responsibility and do the poor me. And there's about 5 or 6 of these reactions that I got from Dr. Henry Cloud in an email that I'm part of his feed. And so I just want to give Dr. Cloud credit for 5 or 6 of these 10. Now he was referring it to just anybody's reactions. I've redone this all related to our reactions to our wife's pain because of our addiction. But I want to give him credit. He's profound. He was on my TV show and he's just a brilliant man. But here's some of the scripture. And the one that came to mind, first of all, was Philippians chapter 2, 3 and 4. And I got it in 3 different translations. So I'm going to read it through and just listen, guys. And if you don't have it in front of you because you can't open it up and be online on the call, listen really close. In the New International Version, it says this: do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value your others above yourselves. Value your wife above yourself. Not looking on your own interests, but each of you to the interest of the others. You see, vain conceit is part of the reason. The lack of humility is part of the reason. Looking on your own interests, not on hers, is part of the reason. Look at what it says in the Passion Translation. Be free from pride-filled opinions, especially of yourself, for they only harm your cherished unity between husband and wife. Don't allow self-promotion or self-justification. Don't allow self-promotion to hide in your hearts. But in authentic humility, put others, in this case, your wife, first, and view others as more important than you, her pain more important than yours. Abandon every display of selfishness. Display a greater concern for what matters to her instead of your own interests. And in the Amplified, I like some of the tone that comes out of this one. Do nothing out of selfishness, men, or vain or empty conceit, which is factional motives trying to separate and create strife and kind of blame her again. But in the attitude of humility, being neither arrogant or self-righteous, regard others, your wife, as more important than yourself. Do not merely look out for your own interests, but also for the interests of others. full on empathy, full on empathy. And you know what? So there's the one that we want to anchor on, and it's the Philippians 2 there. And if you just, choose to memorize it, that might be really helpful. But it's really learning to listen and empathize rather than justify and defend. And thus you're validating her pain instead of violating her pain. There's two other scriptures from Proverbs I want to refer to. And you see, because when we talk about the triggered document, when your wife is triggered and brings up the pain that she's carrying because of you, what do we do when our wife is triggered? That's, if you haven't listened to that, guys, go back. You go to doingfamilyright.com, click on regroup, click on video talks, and go down till you see the word triggered and watch that one. Because I gave a really clear picture of what you need to do to help your wife when she is reviewing some of the pain that she went through because of you. But a lot of it has to do with you continuing to make amends, you continuing to apologize, you continue to empathize, you continue to own it. And the Proverbs says it this way in both chapter 14 and chapter 28. This is the spirit. The foolish man, the foolish husband, he mocks at making amends for sin. How long do I got to keep apologizing? I told a man early this week, you need to keep saying you're sorry and you apologize for as long as you've been hurting her. And one guy actually said, so if it's been 18 years that you've been messing around, lying and hiding about your addiction, then at least take 18 months to own it. At least 1 month for every year. So if your wife brings it up and it's 14 months later and you're actually already a year clean and she brings it up, don't go defensive. Don't mock over, oh, for crying out loud, when are you going to let this go? I'm already a year clean. No, that's not empathy. That's not. Now, does she need to forgive you at some point? Yeah, but that's not your job to remember. You're supposed to forgive me. The Bible says you're supposed to forgive me. I mean, how long is it going to take for you to forgive me? And it's all about me again when I bring that up. But goodwill between her and you. You see, as it says in the NLT, fools, the foolish man, he kind of makes fun of, what are you trying to make me feel guilty again? But the godly acknowledge their guilt and their mistake, and they seek reconciliation. Honey, what do you need from me? What do you need from me? I'm really sorry. You're only triggered because of me. You wouldn't be triggered if I hadn't done all this. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. You see, the fool mocks, but among the upright, there is goodwill and actually the favor and blessing of God. If you just own your stuff, God says, now you're doing what I want. Don't defend. Don't selfishly react. Don't be emotionally immature. Own your mistake again and again and again. And when a man owns his stuff, notice it says, whoever conceals or denies does not prosper. But the one who confesses and renounces finds mercy. If you gave this that, I'm going to illustrate. She brings up the fact that, sometimes it's really hard when, and she tells some story about she was triggered by X or Y, and she's just working through her pain and she's just discouraged. And she needs reassurance. She needs validation. She needs your empathy. So something like this. Honey, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. This is all on me. It's all on me. I hurt you so deep, and I accept that your healing is going to take some time. I'm sorry again for the pain I've caused. I wish I could do it different, but I can't. I'm sorry. I apologize again, hon. What do you need from me? What do you need from me? That tone that I just modeled would bring her closer to you and would bring the two of you closer together. Any other form of these 10 selfish reactions push her away and invalidate her pain. You end up violating her again. So, gentlemen, I close with what I've called the key word for the day: empathize. Empathy means look at it from her perspective. A gentleman not in this group, a gentleman that I'm in the process of helping, he just sent me his disclosure to his wife. And this is the full disclosure now, because he's had progressive disclosure, which causes its own pain, where you say, that's it. And then you have to tell her there's more. And then that's it. And then there's more. And that just really traumatizes her. But you empathize with the pain that you cause. You don't defend. You listen, you validate, you humbly own and admit the pain that you've caused. The sooner you do this, the better. Stop all selfish reactions identified by these 10 dispositions. Stop all selfish reactions and work hard to validate her pain. I believe that's God's plan, gentlemen. And I call you to greatness in the name of Jesus. I call you to be a man who can carry the weight of your sin. Now, God forgives you, but you've got to carry the responsibility of the hurt that you caused for a season. God bless you as you think it through, guys.